Hey, welcome to the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust, presented by Pro Exteriors. My name is Cole. I am one of the hosts on the show, and today you are going to get a chance to hear the culmination of a conversation I started last week with Brad Waslevec. If you recall, last week we started another project profile where we were walking through a recent roofing project that Brad and the Pro Exteriors team completed for a homeowner here in Greenwood, Delaware. I'm excited for you to hear the rest of this conversation. Be sure to stick around to the end so you can see the after photos. All right, let's jump in. This is the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. I dropped this photo in here just as a shout out to our project coordinator, Josh King, who's one of our most faithful listeners of the show, because he took this photo. He took a bunch of the ones that we're about to take a look at as well. So this would be the day of the install. So he went with GAF Timberline HDZ architectural shingles. That's one of, if not the top grade of GAF shingles. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent shingle. I don't like to use like generic terms like baseline or go-to but by far that's the most common shingle that we put on. Very high quality shingle without being ridiculously expensive, which is nice. Yeah. And it's kind of what people want too. A lot of people want the architectural look, and with GAF in general, they're going to have a really pretty like gradient look to them. So all their shingles are going to go from like dark to medium to light. So it has a nice flow color-wise. This is delivery day. This is early in the morning, probably 8:30, 9 o'clock. I wasn't there, but I've been on enough deliveries to know what they're doing here. They're literally craning the materials onto the roof so they don't have to drag these 90-some pound individual bundles of shingles up a ladder. So really convenient to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's equipment like this that allows our crews to get these jobs done in a day most of the time. And you mentioned towards the beginning of our conversation that one of the things that you do on an initial property visit or a house visit like this is to look at driveways in the area around the house.
Yep.
And that's because we're bringing in giant trucks like this on the day, and we've got to figure out a plan ahead of time to make sure that we can get all the materials there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's preparation, making sure things flow smoothly. In reality, that truck is our delivery truck from our supplier. It's going to be on site maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it's not very long. It's not going to be there all day putting stuff up there. But it is very big. And to be able to have the head clearance for the boom, it makes a huge difference. Now we have backup plans if we can't get the crane in there. Don't think because you're heavily wooded or you're in town and there's power lines that there's no way that we can get material on your roof, because there is. But this is obviously the most convenient, being that we called this supplier, ordered all the material we needed. They put it on a pallet, and then they literally picked up that pallet, held it up to the roof. The guys are up there, the roofing crew, and they're taking them off and spreading them out. Way, way, way simpler to have it that way.
Yeah, there are enough surprises during the install that our team does as much pre-planning as possible to mitigate those surprises. Because in a few slides here, we'll see one of those things that we weren't necessarily expecting to find. One of those contingency plans that you alluded to might even be the Equipter that is seen towards the right there, right?
Oh,
oftentimes we'll bring material in.
Attention to the crane.
Well, it's kind of hidden there in the crook of the house. But yeah, if you had a house that was difficult to access, the Equipter, which I believe we have a better picture of coming up here soon, is incredibly agile and is able to navigate around tight spots. Yep. Oh yeah, there's another picture.
Yeah, that's a good picture. So the Equipter, the way I describe the Equipter is we tow it behind a pickup. So it's not as big as you might think. And it's roughly the size of a small pickup truck bed. So it's a good visual. When you can imagine taking the cab off of a pickup, it's roughly that size. And then they literally, where he's standing is how you drive it. So you stand on this platform and you drive it with joysticks. So it's got big like ATV style tires. So it's not the reason I point that out is because a lot of people are a little worried. Oh, I have a septic system or I have a sprinkler heads or something. This thing really isn't all that heavy. And typically where we want to put it is somewhere where we have solid ground, like the driveway here. And it's a pickup truck bed on a scissor lift is usually what I end up summing it up. So they can drive it right up to the edge of the house, activate the scissor lift portion and lifts it up. They can either take material up or take debris off to the dumpster. A lot of roofing companies are using them. A lot of them aren't. So we've had this a couple years now, and it's been a huge, huge benefit. And then it literally cuts down on debris. So, when you have your years past, they would just dump debris onto tarps and then hope that they got it all. Not only does that kind of put things to chance, but if your tarps have holes in them, if you don't feel like getting off the roof to clean up regularly, it's going to look like a war zone out there. It's going to look terrible.
Yeah.
So anybody driving by is going to see these bright orange pickups and debris everywhere and be like, oh, not using those guys. So it makes sense to have it look clean, even though it's not going to be clean. So as much as we can use the Equipter to get the dumpster or the material, the debris off to the dumpster and keep the area looking clean, even though we are dumping tons of stuff onto the grass, onto the whatever, getting it off the roof. It makes a huge benefit. And then the homeowner walks out, they're less nervous because they're like, oh, they're taking time to make sure their area is clean. It's a huge deal. So that thing, as far as I'm concerned, that thing's paid for itself time and time again.
Oh, yeah. All right. So it looks like this is just in the midst of demo, and it is not you just mentioned this, it's not a clean process by any stretch.
Nope.
Things like the tarps and the Equipter help make it look cleaner, but it's almost miraculous when we get to the last slide, just how it looks like we were never there. Really,
it looks like it's always been that way.
So this is kind of partway through it looks like this section's all been demoed. What is that first layer of dark gray charcoal that they're rolling out there?
Yeah, down kind of almost middle of the picture there. That's ice and water shield. We put that most times, I'm gonna say 99.9% of the time, we put that around the entire rim of the roof. So the eaves are down by your gutters, and then the rake edge is from the corner of the gutter up to the ridge. So that's just it's called the rake edge. Mm-hmm. What you don't see here is ice and water shield on the rake, because that goes after we put the underlayment down. So not just material and knowing where to put it, but knowing when to install it is a huge, huge thing as well.
Yeah.
So what I always try and tell people is when you do any roof, it has one job, and its job is to shed water. You need overlapping layers top to bottom in order to accomplish that. So if we were just to say, oh, it's getting ice and water shield, all right, let's put it all the way around the rim and then put on the underlayment and then put on the shingles. You would have layers that were underlapping each other instead of overlapping each other. So that's not the right way to do it, which is why you see it down here by the eaves. And then I don't think there's another photo of it because a lot of guys don't stop to take photos of every step. Mm-hmm. But once the underlayment goes on, which is the blue part there, the deck armor, then the ice and water shield will go up the rake edges as well.
Okay.
There you go. That's actually, I just put my foot in my mouth because it shows it right there.
So it's just showing more of the demo around the rear side of the house. Here's one of the surprises that I just wanted to point out. So it looks like when they obviously on these dormers, they pulled the siding off to be able to get the ice and water underneath, right?
And the flashings as well.
Flashings. Yep. And realized that there was no house wrap or flashing tape at all up there. So do you know, I know you weren't there the day of, what was the solution for that? I think we might actually have a photo. I'm not sure.
If we didn't, we either put underlayment or ice and water, the whole thing. It could have been house wrap too. They probably just use house wrap, to be honest with you, because usually Josh will have a roll of that on his truck. And it's such a small area on these dormers. It's $10 worth of material. You know what I mean? Like it's not a big deal to put that up there. And it's just like a step in the right direction. For my 2 cents, the reason I think there's no house wrap on these dormers, a lot of these types of houses, they will build the dormers like sort of off-site, especially the small ones like this. And then when they're building the whole roof on site, they would just throw a couple of these on a truck and then basically crane them up there.
Gotcha.
At least that's what I've heard. And I've seen it done a couple of times. So it may not be all builders. 20 some years ago, that would be my guess. That's just what happened. So when they do that, they're not necessarily built the same way you would do if you built them 100% on site.
Gotcha.
And what they're doing here, like I said, they're putting in ice and water shield up the transition there. And then they also put in step flashings going up the angled sidewall. And then they put a pan flashing, which is a flat piece on the flat part, the end wall underneath the window.
Okay.
But they make sure those are very, very common points for leaks to happen. So you kind of want to overdo it right there. And what they do is they put in the flashings, and the way a lot of people don't realize too, when you replace your step flashings, you want it to go metal, shingle, metal, shingle. It's supposed to interweave. Whereas a lot of people that do a re-roof, they think they're saving money by reusing the flashings, and all they do is smash the old ones down and then put new shingles on top. But that's not doing you any favors. Water's going to find a way in there, and once it gets past the shingles there, it's got nothing stopping it from going right to the plywood.
Gotcha.
So it's really not the best way to do at all. So what we do is when we put it in, they're going to put ice and water shield up the sidewalls, put it across the front on the end wall, and then they're going to put their step flashings in when the shingles go up.
Cool. All right. I believe we're coming down the home stretch. So off to the very far left, you see a little snippet of the roll-off dumpster. So with our Equipter, when all the material's coming off, we have a place to deposit it, right? So that we can reuse the Equipter, and that roll-off is removed. But this looks like it's just the after shot of the garage side of the house, where you can see that the oyster gray.
Yeah.
Shiny light. So
and
here's
a couple photos prior to that, that's where the Equipter was parked. So it kind of gives you a good during and after kind of thing.
Yep.
You would never know that we had a piece of heavy equipment there. You would never know that there was debris there. So that's kind of the point. We wanted to make it look like we were never there until you look at the roof. Yeah.
Now you'll for the eagle-eyed among you, this one you'll notice that the downspout is not connected because some of the gutters were off. So we had not completely completed the job. We're just looking at the roof right now. But yeah, here's one of the after photos. Again, that same piece of downspout still over here. Josh, I believe, took this one as well, and you can see a Home Depot bucket there in the middle. And then what is that little piece of equipment on wheels there, Brad? Could you tell everybody what that is?
I can't even see what that is.
So audience, talk amongst yourselves. This is the magnet, the rolling magnet.
Oh, the little blue thing next to the Home Depot bucket. Gotcha. Yep, that's a rolling magnet. So that's why the bucket's there, because it's probably full of nails.
Yeah.
So even though we do Equipter to cut down on the debris going everywhere, even though we use tarps to put everything, you still use magnets. I mean, there's no way to get away from it. Not that you even want to, because sometimes the simplest methods are the best ones.
Yeah.
So we know that we're not going to be able to catch every single nail where we want it to be. So you run a heavy duty. It's a very heavy duty magnet. Like, don't put your cell phone next to it kind of magnet. And it'll pull nails out of that grass, pretty quick. And what I always like to do when I go after the fact to run a magnet, like if Josh couldn't be there or something, and I'm kind of doing what he would normally do, I'll put a like an empty Gatorade bottle in my pocket, and I will literally just be quiet. And it's not so much a feel as a listen. You can literally hear the nails tink, tink, and I stop every time, because if it's tall grass and I don't stop every time, it's going to take it right back off.
Yeah.
But what I usually tell people, and I said it kind of earlier, there's going to be tens of thousands of nails going up and coming off of that roof. If we find 10 to 15 on the last run, we're doing pretty good. It's the goal is to find the ones that you would step on. Mm-hmm. If you happen to have one that's wedged up against your house in the mulch and you find it a year later, you're not going to step on that one. You know what I mean? So it's we get as much as we possibly can, but I haven't had a ton of people lately. When I first started, they would see that I have like half a Gatorade bottle full. And I'm like, did you not see the 5-gallon buckets that were full when they this is the 5th time we've run this magnet, we're doing pretty good. Yeah. But the goal is to make sure that, like I said, when we leave, you don't know that we were there until you look up. And that's the idea. We don't want to be intrusive at all. We don't want to break into someone's life and take over for longer than is necessary. And this one, I can't tell. Again, it's the screen's kind of far away, but we didn't just do the roof here. We also did gutter replacement and gutter guards as well. Okay. So it's kind of the end of that story, so to speak. Oh, that's a good picture. The end of that story, so to speak, was that when we got done proposing, he had mentioned something about gutters, and I said, "Oh, funny you should mention that," because I try to tell people, "Hey, we can do your gutters, we can do your gutter guards as well," and a lot of people don't realize that. So it's a nice thing to not have to go and find another company to do that for you. I mean, we have really, really, really good products as far as obviously roofing, but the gutters and the gutter guards, they're really top notch. So.
I believe, I thought I had put one of the pictures of the new gutter with the gutter guards in here, and my apologies, our producer did not. I'll talk to him later about that. It's me.
AKA yourself, yeah.
Yeah. But I did I dropped. So here's the picture you took the first day you went out, that soggy, rainy day. And then here, Josh took a picture one of our last days on site there. And did this take one day? For the roof portion?
2.5. I want to say it was, like I said, a very, very big roof.
There's also a lot of different.
Yeah, a lot of cutting.
Yeah. A
lot of complexity is probably the best way to say it. Yep. It's it took, I want to say 2.5 days. It might have taken 2, but I think it was 2.5.
Okay.
But if you go back one photo, granted it was overcast. But just like I'm looking, I obviously see the dark roof because it's old, it's got algae on it. But I'm looking at the stonework on the front. And then if we go forward one more, to me, that it like makes the color pop with the lighter roof. It's the things that you wouldn't ordinarily notice. It's that in the previous photo, it looked like a gray kind of all one color.
Yeah.
At least to my eye. Obviously, when I'm looking harder at it now, you can see a little bit of difference. But with that lighter color roof, it makes your eye move, and it almost makes that stone wall a little bit more of an accent. Actually, it's a pretty house. I mean, I can understand why they bought it. Look how nice it is.
If the homeowners are watching this, good call on the oyster gray. I feel like it ties in really well with that stonework on the front of the house too.
If I've learned one thing in the almost 5 years, it's coming up in almost exactly 5 years that I've been here, it's that when your wife picks a color, you just say yes, because it's more. And this goes for my own wife as well. When she chooses colors, I'm looking at it like I don't care what color it is, as long as you're happy. But they for whatever reason, they have the best eye for like contrast and complementary colors. It's wild.
Yeah.
That oyster gray 100% was the right call. It looks so nice on that house.
Yep. Well, we're going to wrap things up here in just a second. I want to read this review that your customer left. I'm going to read it so that you don't feel awkward. You might feel awkward listening to it, awkward, but deal with it. All right. So this was received just 1 week ago from the time of us recording this. So Rich says this: if I was able to give more than 5 stars, I would. The sales and professionalism of Pro Exteriors was outstanding. I cannot say enough about Brad W., my sales rep, who explained every little detail, and the outcome, I was very impressed. And a professionalism and caring of Josh King, my field supervisor, who also explained everything of what they were doing and how it would turn out. Brad and Josh are an asset to Pro Exteriors. Keep up the good work, Pro Exteriors. Thank you for everything, Rich. So, Rich, thank you for writing about your experience. And I would agree. You and Josh are both assets to Pro Exteriors. And to add some levity to what could be considered a sappy moment, I love the fact that he only put your last initial and didn't try to spell Waslevec. But he typed out Josh King.
Yep, I saw that too.
That's a smart man right there.
That's a very smart move. Yep.
I've learned Waslevec is a very phonetically spelled.
That's intentional.
name.
Yeah. So it's real quick. I'm not going to take up a ton of time on my family history, but my grandmother passed, 10 years ago, maybe. And the story is that she's the last one that knew what the family name originally was. I'm sure we could find out. The internet exists now. We could go out and figure it out. But every time I look at our last name, I'm like, there's no way it was spelled like that 110 years ago. You know what I mean? There's just no way. We're from the Baltic region, Slavic. I've been told Lithuania is where the name is from. But that Z, there is about a 0% chance that Z wasn't a CZ at one point. There's just 0%. And all the hard consonants, there's probably a half dozen more consonants in there. It's very phonetically spelled. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because like I've always worked with people that have relatively easy to say names, and then I come up. And so a really good friend of mine that I actually worked with him, he started out as my customer, then we worked together, then he was my boss for a hot minute, then he was back to being a coworker, and he was in my wedding. Like, we're very good friends. Very Eastern European name too. So we kind of connected on that. And he looked at me, he's like, you Polish? I'm like, yeah, probably. I don't know. Because he's like 50-60% Polish. And that's where that name's come from, most likely. So it's fun.
I think my last name should be easy to pronounce. But is Cole Willis there? Is Cole Willie there? Wiggly?
I want to put an N in there. I want to spell Willing.
Oh yeah, Willing.
It makes sense. Well, everybody's got some kind of family thing, that I used to work with a guy that his last name was Grise, And everybody has something that when they have an odd to spell name, and every time he picked up the phone, he'd be like, hey, this is, I'm not gonna say his full name, but it's like guys with an R, Gries, and every single time. And I'm like, so people misspell your name all the time. He's like, hey, you wouldn't think they will. It's 5 letters, but they always misspell it. So,
well, folks, I know you come here for the answers to your exterior contracting questions, but we give you history of surnames here as well.
Yeah, why not?
Brad, thank you. I sift through pictures on Company Cam. Audience, if you don't know what Company Cam is, go back and watch or listen to the episode where Brad tells you all about Company Cam. But I'm often on Company Cam looking at projects, trying to find photos we can use for different marketing purposes. And it's fun when I get a chance, like we just had, to hear the story behind the photos. And so I appreciate you taking the time to walk me through it.
Thank you. It's always fun to do this.
Yeah. All right. That is all we have for you today on the You Ask the Pros Answer. Hey, would you help us get the word out about the show? The best way to do this is to leave reviews on Apple Podcasts, follow us on social media, or simply tell a friend. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Before we go, we want to hear from you. What are some of the questions you have related to exterior home remodeling? Maybe the process involved, the options that are out there. Send your questions to info@askproexteriors.com and place "You Ask" in the subject. If you are facing an upcoming home project, we hope this episode has empowered you to tackle it with confidence. Remember, knowledge is power, and a little bit of research can go a long way. Until next time, happy homeowning. The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Would you please help us out by hitting that subscribe button? That would be awesome. Also, if you never want to miss another one of our uploads, please be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, thanks. See ya.